I've got 5 days and I want to see all of New Zealand. Okay, that might be a little unrealistic. How about all of the North Island? Well, I'll certainly try my hardest. This is going to be an adventure, racing over railways and abseiling into caves. I may not make it out alive. Keep watching to see if I survive. If you're from New Zealand, you might laugh if I said I had booked a trip to Hamilton. The airport has one gate. I missed the only bus out of the airport by about 2 days. The only lunch I could find was a convenience store meat pie and energy drink. The humble town of Hamilton was not trying to sell itself to me. Nevertheless, I hung out with this guy and took a walk along the mighty Waikato River. There were morning glories blooming everywhere above the wide, slow-flowing river. I was fascinated by all the big trees. It wasn't Putaruru Springs, but the water was clear and the trail was lush. I made my way to Hamilton Gardens. This overpass isn't exactly selling it, but I walked a little bit further and suddenly I was in a glorious rose garden. You didn't even have to pay to get into this part. I was sold, so I paid $20 to see the rest of the gardens. I quickly realized that I was in possibly the best botanical garden I've ever been to. I started out in the Japanese garden, meandered into the English garden, and then I was shocked by the Chinese garden. Tall bamboo everywhere, this turtle dog, and a beautiful pagoda. I had to push Instagram photo takers aside to get into the gorgeous Indian garden. It was colorful and symmetrical, truly striking. Next up was the Italian garden, starting off strong with this wolf fountain. This one sure was giving the Indian garden a run for its money with the gorgeous water feature. After that was the working Te Parapara garden. It had traditional Maori gardening methods and architectural styles. All of the figures have paua, or abalone eyes. I walked through a few more wild and wacky gardens before finally meeting this family of pukeko. There was a snake in a spooky cave. Foreshadowing for tomorrow. There was an Egyptian garden with real hieroglyphics and a crazy surrealist garden. I finished off the day with a lamb kebab wrap at a Turkish restaurant. Then, on a recommendation from a very kind Kiwi mom I met on my flight, I got ice cream from Duck Island, a New Zealand delicacy. What a glorious way to start my morning. I headed to the bus stop bright and early, headed to my next destination, the famous Waitomo glowworm caves. The drive looks like horse paradise. For lunch, I got yet another meat pie. I'm really starting to like these things. Then, I looked like a real backpacker as I trekked 20 minutes down to my hostel and a working farm. It was rustic, but awesome. There was a dog named George and some sheep. 5 minutes down the road, there was the starting point for my cave diving adventure. It was a beautiful sunny day, but I wouldn't be seeing much more of that. I suited up into a harness, wetsuit, and carabiners. This could have been the last video I ever took of myself, and you will soon find out why. We drove out to the cave site. It was a literal 35-meter deep hole in the ground. Now, I'm an American, and anytime someone says something to me in meters, I have no idea what they mean. So I just imagined that whatever that distance was, it couldn't be that bad. We spent about 5 minutes learning how to abseil. Should be simple. Just hold the rope with one hand and gradually let go. But don't let go all the way with the wrong hand, or you'll fall 35 meters. One thing to know about me is that sometimes I have trouble distinguishing my left hand from my right hand in certain situations. The guide tried to strap me in for the descent, but somehow he sensed that fact about me and decided I was not safe to go alone, so he unclipped me and sent me to the back of the line. Then, after everyone else had went, he clipped me in and we went together, immediately terrifying. I almost certainly would have messed up had I been alone. The rope was tearing up my hand. I spent a long time on the way down truly learning how long 35 meters is, and how indescribably scary it is to be plunging into a darkness where you can't see the bottom. But I made it. I like the next activity though, which is a flying fox through the glowworm caves. For any Americans watching, that means zipline. The glowworms really do look like they do in the pictures, and this was the best way to see them, while overdosing on adrenaline and just really happy to be alive. We stood on an underground cliff above a river, where the guide served us hot chocolate. Then, they handed us a tube and said jump. Eager to redeem myself, I jumped in without hesitation. I splashed down with a perfect landing. Now I was in my element. The water was cold, but the wetsuit kept me warm. We relaxingly paddled through the caves, gazing up at the glowworms. The guides kept trying to tell us facts, but the other people on the tour wouldn't shut up. There was a family from China and a Spanish couple on their honeymoon, as well as one other American. Oh well, noise only makes the glowworms shine brighter. Then we returned the tubes and started swimming. Bad news for the family, who unfortunately could not swim. Not for me though. I was having a grand old time wriggling through tiny crevices and doing cave diving maneuvers that were probably way above my skill level. I even saw an eel. She was in a section called the Drunken Walk because it was slippery and easy to trip, so her name was Vodka. Then the guides led us into a tight, forking section of the cave and said we had a choice. We could either do the scenic but easy way out, or climb up 2 waterfalls in a painfully technical climb where one wrong move would mean serious injury. It seemed like everyone was leaning towards the waterfalls, so I said screw it, time to fully regain my ego. Before I could say anything, they chose me to go second. I looked up at the tall waterfall and started to lose my nerve. The rocks were slippery, and the water was powerfully barreling down. One wrong move really would be seriously bad, but the guide told me exactly where to put my arms and legs, and this time I listened. With a final powerful push, I had scaled the first waterfall. I felt strong, but I knew it wasn't over. I waited for a while at the second waterfall, but my compatriots did not follow. It was just me and my American buddy. The guide appeared and told me it was time to go. Placing my feet on the knife edge above the water, I started my last descent. I couldn't see what was coming in the chamber above, but I wriggled my way up anyway. I was alone now, and it was time to find my way out of the cave. The glowworms gradually disappeared, and the walls got lighter and lighter, until I could see the lush forest outside and a tiny stream feeding those gnarly waterfalls. They did get a few pictures out of this experience, but to me they weren't really keepers. The sun was setting and a light rain was falling. I lived. There was a light fog over everything when I woke up. You could see the steam coming off of my tea. Waitomo doesn't have a grocery store, so for breakfast, I had to do what I call the hostel special, meaning that I had to scrounge together whatever free stuff people had left, which is how I ended up with tiramisu and mystery tea. I also met a few new friends, like these sheep and horses and mystery animal. I really don't know what this thing is. It looks like a deer, but why would someone keep a deer? It had this ugly hog friend, too. They were best buddies. I went on a walk into the forest, where I found this fakiro in the wild. Here's the river that feeds the caves again, glowing orange. It was really a beautiful morning, and I wish I could have stayed longer, but I didn't have a moment to lose. I had to head into Aotearoa to catch the Northern Explorer train. Now, on the inside, I was surrounded by mostly old people who kept giving me the stink eye, and I was also stuck with an aisle seat. Luckily, they had a viewing carriage that opened up into fresh air. I had an advantage there, because I can in fact stand for extended periods of time. So, I was able to claim a prime viewing spot. We raced past hobbit-worthy landscapes. This little cicada hopped on me, and I couldn't get him to go away. He was just one of the new friends I made on the train. Turns out the train made a great environment for conversations with strangers. Soon, we were riding past National Park, also known as Mount Dune. I would love to come back here and hike at some point, but I got some awesome views from the train. The mountain refused to disappear. We rode over some striking viaducts, and thankfully, I don't have a fear of heights, anymore at least. After a few more hours, we were at the Kapiti Coast. That meant it wasn't long until Wellington. I got there and tried to board a bus. Unfortunately, the tap stations weren't taking my American credit card. A kind Kiwi covered my fare and told me to pay it forward. I arrived safely and checked into my hostel. The owners had left for the night, but they left me my key with a nice note. I unlocked my room and saw only 2 full bunk beds. I was confused and genuinely couldn't find an empty bunk, so I called the owners. They told me to look up. I didn't realize I would be sleeping on Mount Everest. My first mission was to get a snapper card, so I wouldn't have to keep mooching rides. Luckily, the convenience store that sells them also had donuts. It was a rainy, gloomy day, which was perfect for my museum day. I headed for Te Papa. I learned all about Gallipoli from this big guy. Touching this blue rock, I followed in the footsteps of Maui and got to see some cool New Zealand birds. I would not want to see this in real life. I decided to do a little kid activity and drew some flowers. Here's the final result, and me turning in my work. There was also a fun earthquake simulator. Here are my eel friends from yesterday. Their papa also has art. My favorite was Maori Girl, a video game installation that you could actually play. I successfully used my snapper to take me to Weta Workshop. They are the guys who made The Lord of the Rings and Avatar. I got to see some real props from the films and learn about how the filmmakers made them. Of course, I wasn't allowed to take pictures of most things, but I still filmed what I could. Look at Aotearoa's bow. Then I got to do a leather making workshop. This one I won't show the finished product of because it is a surprise for a very special sister who is watching this video. I found my way back to the hostel and, determined not to starve again, I headed to Woolies. I got ramen and vegetables and was lucky enough to score some free bacon. The delight of what people leave behind in a hostel. Here's my hostel special ramen. It was quite honestly some of the best ramen I've ever made. After I'd finished it, in a spell of spontaneity, I decided to go for a wander. I stumbled into this park and suddenly I was in the wilderness. I followed the trail and it led me to a power line. What serendipity! I found a trail with the same name and decided to follow it. It gave me some beautiful sunset views of Wellington. The trail was surprisingly bumpy. I realized I had not been observant enough while looking at the trailhead, and had wandered onto a mountain bike trail. Still, it was getting dark, and I was desperate to get back. So, up and down I went, until finally I was out and not flattened. There was this beautiful sound emanating from someone's garage, a real and true garage band. A tragedy that I will never hear this artist again or even know who they were. It was ephemerally beautiful. In my last hours in Wellington, I walked through the Wellington Botanic Gardens. They were beautiful and everything was blooming. Luckily, this put me in just the right spot to ride the cable car. This was a bucket list item that I didn't think I'd get to. It was short but sweet. There were these cool glowing tunnels. Say hello to the people going up. Thinking back, this would have been a smart way to get up the hill, but it was much more busy. At the end, they even gave me some free paoa offcuts. I left my remaining New Zealand change at the laundry. It exactly matched the bus fare that kind woman gave me. I used my last snapper money to make it to the airport. I was sad to leave New Zealand, but I hope that this won't be my last time here. In a flash of just a few days, I've seen so much of the North Island, and I really hope I'll be back soon. I was struck by the kindness of the people I met, even though I was just a dumb American tourist. I didn't fall to the bottom of the glowworm cave or get stranded at a train station, not because I'm some sort of expert traveler, but because of the kindness of some Kiwis.